Pipeline Company. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Local 3 wants you to enjoy a night at the Chattanooga Symphony and Opera. You could win a pair of tickets to Sinatra and Beyond at the Memorial Auditorium. Celebrate the musical legacy of Old Blue Eyes. Enter every day at local3news.com.
We all have moments in our lives that we can look back on and see how they changed us. Usually, there's power in those moments, especially in the moments that are most challenging. But do we always seize that power, or do we lose it? Bo Picklesimer has written a book about grabbing hold of those moments. It's called The Sweet Spot, the moments that can transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary experience. And he joins us this morning. Good to see you this morning.
Oh, good to see you, Julie.
So tell me a little bit about how you began to write this book, because as I understand it, you spent a career in the club industry, and now here you are, turned author, talking about the emotions of life and seizing those moments.
Well, years ago, I had in mind that I'd at some point in my life write a book, and I thought it'd be kind of like the story of my life, more for my family than anything else. And along the way, I began to have a different feeling about what I wanted to write. And some people write the story of their life. This is really a book about the stories from my life, stories that were meaningful to me.
So you kind of have a theme that runs through it. You talk about turning misery into purpose. I have a very dear friend, and her phrase is that from pain comes growth. So is it the sense of taking hold of whatever it is that life brings you, but finding a way to use it for good?
Yeah, that's. I think that's part of the process of life is seeing all kinds of things come your way. There's the moments of joy and happiness, and then there's the moments of challenge. And the stories in my book are stories of different kinds, and sometimes there's a little bit of sadness, but there's a lot of laughter and fun too. And I think that's what that's what makes life.
Yeah.
Just the different kinds of experiences. And I had an experience speaking with my mom a few years before she passed away, and it really kind of helped me focus on why I needed to do what I was doing. And I called her one day to have one of those conversations just to make sure we weren't missing anything before I lost her. And I wanted to go over one more time a story that we had recited to ourselves many times over the years. And she really couldn't remember the story at that point. And it made me think and realize that a lot of our moments slip through the cracks if we're not careful. And that was really one of the reasons why I decided to write the book I wrote.
So in the writing of the book then, are you making sure that you chronicle those moments, and that way they are not forgotten?
Well, for me, that was one of the purposes, to make sure that the stories didn't get forgotten. But it was also, as I began writing the book, I realized that one of the other purposes I wanted was, as people read what I wrote, that it would take them back to some of their sweet spots and help them realize that and ponder and think about the experiences they had and the stories of their life.
I think that I would imagine if you spent 30 years in the club business, even though they were high-end clubs, you probably saw a lot of people who were in those clubs to kind of escape their own sorrows and troubles. Did you ever have some moments in those difficult times that kind of became a sweet spot for you?
There's several stories in my book that came out of those experiences in the club world, and that's really kind of where my craft of writing stories came about. As each month I would write a message to my members about what was going on at the club and some things that I wanted to communicate. And in that process, I found myself beginning to maybe help them relate to the message I was trying to share by telling stories. And that's really kind of where my craft began to be developed in that process.
You told me that you thought that everybody should find a way to write a book. You've learned a lot about yourself in this process.
Oh, yeah. I think when you look at your experiences, and in the book I talk about the process of how you remember and come to appreciate your sweet spots. I think as you go through that process and experience it yourself, you become more aware of how you feel about things and why you do feel the way you do about things. And the book I titled "The Sweet Spot" because it's not we have a tendency to think of life as in terms of weeks, months, and years, but really life comes in the moments. And when you
Right.
think about a wonderful experience or a challenging experience, you don't go back and go and walk through that story in weeks and months. You go back and you go to the moments that touch you and that you don't forget.
Well, thank you for this moment. And if people want to get the book, where can they find it?
You can find us on Sweet Spots on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Excellent. And again, the book is called The Sweet Spot. Bo, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Julie.
Look no further than Mercantile at the Ridge for that unique home furnishing or collectible. The same familiar location, new management, and a refreshing shopping experience with over 125 individual shops. Find what you're looking for at Mercantile at the Ridge, Ringgold Road, Exit 1.